My ISB story, it was back in 2001. I was working at Citibank at that time. And, one fine day, my boss asked me, hey, there is this program at ISB, collaboration, Kellogg, Wharton, this story, right? And I heard about it. I know that it's not a full degree per se, it was a PGP, but to me, I think, what matters more, it's the proposition of the school, the faculty, etc., right? Which, till this day, I think I made the right call. So long story short, I actually have applied for it and basically got in. When I first walked into Gachibowli, right, it was not exactly complete. Now, I don't want to make it a negative comment, but it was just, everything is new. And it brings back to a point where for a lot of the students, I speak for myself, right? We all have different dreams we want to achieve, right? And we also see this and we also realize that, we need to be part of the dream. We're here to build the school together. So instead of asking, why don't we have that? Why not ask, why not we have this and let's get going? So I think that's really the spirit, at least for the founding batch, right? So not complaining about many things, but saying, why not we do this, right? So I think that has been a big kind of culture at that time, right? Instead, so in terms of the faculty, it was the first class because it was, frankly, it was the first year. So we get a lot of absolutely excellent faculty, right? We had the late Sumantra Ghoshal from London Business School. We have Deepak Jain, who's a known name, right? We have Balabala Chandran, so lots of names, right? But I think the quality of the education, and I think that was also one thing that has attracted me, at least from outside, being a non-Indian, right? India as a country has a lot of things to be proud of. Having groomed up many, many CEOs and the best in academia and medical, you name it, who are from this country, right? So in a way, by having ISB gathering this, faculty and this professional, this academic experts together in one place, to me, it's a dream come true, right? And that's part of the attraction that, at least for me, that I think makes ISB very, very unique. I just remember one of the first professors, I remember was Dominic Houlder. He's from London, I believe, London Business School. And I think, he not only did he obviously, deliver a world-class kind of, way of bringing the Western world and the Asia world and the relevance to us, but also, like me, he was also here probably for one of the first times in India, and therefore there was a lot of sharing of experiences with the class as well. So since I have left the school, I have been in close touch with the school. I'm a big fan. I'm a proud alum, and I have hosted ISB students in our offices here. It was a session to talk about leadership, and partially because of what I do, right? We do leadership advisory, right? So, and I have observed throughout the years, I think I've hosted students 3-4 times, right? And I've observed throughout the years the different composition of the visiting students, right? From a lot more diverse, a lot more international students, a lot more people from outside of the country. And also, by the questions they ask, they're not thinking of building a career in India. They're asking questions. How do I become the next Ajay Banga? How do I become the next Indra Nui? And I think that's fantastic. And arguably every B school should be thinking that way. But ISB, coming from the background and being a bit more kind of India focused, to have students to think broad, to think big, to dream big, I think this is absolutely encouraging to see, right? And I have observed the school also, right? From back then, one student village to now, I believe, correct me, 3 or 4 perhaps, right? From one campus to 2, I believe, right? So it's again, if I look back, or when I look back now, what the school was saying they would do, they have been doing, and they are doing. and they should continue doing, because it is a journey. You don't become the top school in the world overnight, and you should not become the top school overnight. But bit by bit, brick by brick, right? Contributed by the faculty, by the alumni, by the students. Again, back to this entrepreneurship, back to this building up your dream bit, right? I think that is really what I'm very, very proud of the school. So I think my dream for the school is that, my challenge for the school is don't just build leaders for the world, but build well-rounded leaders who are holistic leaders, both from a leadership perspective and from a humanity type of perspective. And I think that would be a fantastic dream for the school, right?
How did I come to be taking the very first class for the very first batch at ISB? The story, like so many things in life, certainly in my life, goes back to Professor Sumantra Ghoshal, founding dean for ISB. And Sumantra was like a magnetic personality who had the uncanny gift of being able to energize and inspire anyone. Sumantra was a magician. He could work with the great princes, and he could work with those who had little or nothing. He had an amazing gift of being able to draw people into his projects. And you'll all know about Sumantra's great saying about the smell of the place and the kind of smell of the place that we need to create. That kind of smell followed Sumantra anywhere, and you just had to go into his study at LBS to get that smell of purpose, an amazing sense of purpose, and also, excitement, because whatever was going to be the outcome of working with Sumantra, you knew it would leave a trail of excitement in its wake at the very least. And also, invariably, something good would emerge from it. One of my colleagues, Julian Birkinshaw, together with Gita Piramel, wrote about Sumantra as a force for the good. And Sumantra had that ability to enroll us in his projects that were forces for the good, especially in this context, the foundation of ISB. So, although knowing Sumantra, this is probably a rather foolish expectation. I expected a campus all ready for action, and I expected that all the dots would be connected. The great thing about Sumantra, in terms of the excitement that he generated, was that there was always an element of chaos following in Sumantra's wake, as well as that wonderful sense of purpose. I think the two necessarily go together, because after all, in its day, ISB absolutely qualified as a disruptive innovation. So I arrived, and in the distance as we arrived, I saw this wonderful pink stone building. As we got closer, I saw increasing amounts of dust, because of course it turned out the construction work for ISB was still very much in action at the time. And nothing daunted, I entered the first live classroom for the very first time, and above us we heard drilling, angle grinders at work, and there was a sea of students. I think we maybe had, and perhaps I've lost touch with the numbers as a sign of old age, but it felt like about 120 students in the batch, all gleeful and buzzing. Your MBA manager did something I've certainly never seen anyone do at London Business School. We'd probably forbid it. In her sari, she climbed the scaffolding to personally tell the builders at that point, temporarily, to cease and desist. And I thought, well, here's another one who's been caught by the spell of Sumantra Ghoshal. And institutions like ISB, and I'd like to say ISB particularly, have such an important part to play in that. In terms of ensuring, and this goes back to Sumantra Ghoshal's proposition, that business should be a force for the good. When it comes to making money, we could talk about the dimension of value creation or the dimension of value capture. And often in business schools, we used to mostly teach value capture in strategy classes. Sumantra said, look, business managers and managers in other institutions are far better than this. Actually, first and foremost, they want to create value before we get into a discussion of how much we capture. And he was saying that the mark we as educators can leave on the world is putting what managers in their hearts know they should be doing right at the center stage, which is to say, let's first create value. And the story of India, of course, since ISB was founded, has been an amazing story of value creation. Finally, I would like to offer the entire ISB community my personal congratulations. What you've achieved from those first years is quite extraordinary in terms of the institution you've created, but also extraordinary in terms of the impact that you have been generating.